Greetings, welcome to our first KTN webcast of 2025 as we enter our third year of our monthly series. So we're very excited to welcome you to this month's topic, how to be a lightning rod and truly ground guest negativity. As always, we want to thank our sponsors who have been with us since day one in 2023. Track, a TravelNet solution, a fantastic property management system. They also have the CRM called TrackPulse. They have Atlas website builders, and they do so much more also in the revenue management space. Travel Outlook, the premier hotel call center and the only call center certified by Kennedy Training Network, which means we score their calls, actual recordings of real calls every month, and they maintain a very high standard. Well, Julia Kennedy, our marketing coordinator, and we go over the attendee list. That's my way of prepping about 30 minutes before the start here. We look at the list, because if not, I'm just standing here staring at a little tiny webcam with a lens in the middle, and looking at the attendee list makes me very excited because I get to imagine all of the people around the globe. We have from Kiev to Cabo today joining us. And we're super excited how many of you attend live. I know that some of you cannot, and those of you who are live, keep in mind in the future, if you cannot make the date and time, everyone who registers receives a link to watch the webcast later, and you receive that automatically. So I want to do some shout outs, as I always do, as we're waiting for our last few people to join us. First of all, our international clients today really caught my eye. The Montage Los Cabo, and which I think it's your first time, Montage, and our client, regular client, the Viceroy, both Viceroy Cabo San Lucas. I have seen that you both have large teams joining us for this program today, so I'm super excited. I will be thinking of you on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday when I'll be at the Waldorf Astoria, Pedregal, which is right in your neighborhood. Unfortunately, it's a very quick visit, so I won't be able to come over and see you. But if you ever want to have on-site training, I'd love to fly out and to see you as well. We have some new people here. Lo at Hotel Alpenrock. How nice to see you. I met you last week when we did the sales training, of course. We have a lot of regulars, a lot of other clients here. Hazleton, Toronto, I hope to be confirming the right date, whatever works for you guys. Hazleton, Toronto, up in Toronto, obviously. Thank you, Grace. We have Sean from Oxford Suites and AGM. We love working with your call center. It has been a while since we did on-site training. We'd love to do that. Emerald Isle, Village Properties, Compass Resorts, Allison and Miles, Otesaga, Jen. It's been a long time since I've been at the lovely Otesaga in Cooperstown. Maybe as you're planning for the big season, think about Doug Kennedy, have me back. Yeah, Cooperstown, New York. If you're a baseball fan, you know where that is. We have many other new clients. We have Stay Lake Norman, Moose Management, Luxury Coastal Vacations. Many of you have just become KTN clients, so we're super excited about you as well. Let's see, who else do we have here? Spinnaker, Kelly, I think you're new to us. Thank you for logging in. Oh, 30A, yes, another client. Now we have some brand new people. I believe this is your first time webcast. Lodges at Crest Haven, Janine and Leanna. Welcome. I hope you like it and continue to join us. The Davenport Hotel up in, I gotta make sure I say this right. Spokane. No, I can't remember now. If it's Spokane or Spokane, I know you make fun of people like me who say it wrong. But anyways, Jaista Kennedy, I can say your last name correct, and you have an excellent last name, by the way, Shaista. So you'll have to message me and tell me if it's Spokane or Spokane, because I've been there, but I can't remember. We have the High Columbia River Hotels. Amber, your first time with us. We have Cherry Ridge Retreat, Luxury Cabins. Keith, very interesting. We love seeing your lovely cabins. So we hope that everybody benefits from this. Keep in mind, everything will be recorded. If you want to share parts of this, if you're a leader, manager, you may want to share parts of this at your stand-up meetings, your monthly meetings, your departmental meetings. either to watch the whole thing, but I know time is of the essence. Maybe you take a few components and share just those. So I'm going to talk about a new topic for this month's webcast. I was inspired to write this as a training article. If you do receive our newsletters, every month I write 2 new training articles, and a lot of those topics, if they get good feedback from our readers, then I make them into our latest webcast topics. This one, actually, I got an email from the director of front office at Sun River Resort, another client where I'll be up in Oregon, and he said he liked the article so much he made his own training class based on this. So that inspired me to make this webcast, how to be a lightning rod to truly ground those negative vibes. So almost everybody knows what a lightning rod is, but how many of us know what does a lightning rod actually do? Now, most everybody knows that it sits on the top of a building, a tall building. Now, hopefully you remember from probably elementary school, the story of electricity. It's actually a fable. I don't think it was really true. Benjamin Franklin and the kite and the key and the lightning struck and the electricity came down the line. Well, one of the things you may have learned back then was that lightning always strikes the tallest location. So a reminder, if you're ever in a field like a golf course and it starts raining and you want to stay dry, if it's a rainstorm, that's fine. But if it's a lightning storm, do not go under the tree, okay? Because the lightning will go to that tree, come down the tree trunk, and it will zap you, and it probably won't feel good if you even live to tell about it. So the lightning always goes to the top of the building, all right? But what it actually happens is, thanks to AI, don't we love AI already? A lightning rod protects a building or structure from the lightning strikes by intercepting the lightning and safely directing its electrical discharge into the ground. That's why we call it being grounded. So that's what a lightning rod actually does. It grabs that bolt of lightning, takes it, and you can't see in this AI drawing, but there's actually a cable, and it goes all the way, and it's dispersed and discharged, and it goes away, and the lightning rod will stand tall and withstand that intense bolt of electricity. Okay, if you ever been around a lightning bolt, I thank goodness I've never been hit by one, but I've had that, lightning in Florida where I live in Miami area. We have more lightning strikes than anywhere in the country, and I have been very often outside, and you see the lightning and you hear it at the same time. You know it's near you and you actually feel it, but that does not affect a lightning rod. That's what I want us to think about, because in exactly this way, we can be ready for those guests with their super negative vibes, receive that strike and walk away unscathed. And now they've released all that negative energy. Hopefully we have lit their vibe, because that's what we really want to do. Now, how to be a lightning rod. Oh, that's the hard part. I'll tell you, I teach this almost every week now. We've incorporated it into all of our trainings, whether it's hospitality or sales or even reservation sales. But we must first understand that difficult guests are an inevitable part of our job. So if you want to be a lightning rod, it's a mental framework that we need to formulate. As I mentioned, I teach it every day. I was just in Grenada this week. Lovely people there, by the way. I highly recommend the Siesta Hotel Grenada. We were talking about this, and some people shared that it really does affect them when they're new to the industry, and you expect, oh, guests are happy and we want to give hospitality, and then bam, you have that negative vibe person. I'm still learning to deal with this too, but as we teach, therefore we learn. So we must be ready to accept those strikes when they happen unexpectedly. The first way I think to do that is to realize, as I said, it's actually inevitable that you will encounter difficult guests. It's literally a numbers game. I always do this. I did it at Siesta. I said, how many rooms do you have? They have about 40. I said, how many average guests per room? Well, at least 2. I said, you have 80 guests. Do you expect them all to be nice? Because they're not all going to be nice. That is the dream world, folks. That is not the real world. It is a given fact. There are some negative personalities, but here's the other thing. There's also those wonderful people. If you've been with me before in some of our other webcasts, all of which are now on our YouTube channel, You got about 5% of the people in the world. These are your very nice guests. No matter what happens, they're going to say, oh, sorry to bother you. There's a flood in my room. But don't worry, we got some towels and we cleaned it up. We didn't want to bother you last night in the middle of the night when the toilet overflowed. So my husband found the shut-off valve, and would you mind having someone fix the flood? Sorry. Then you've got these other people, and they're going to complain. I used up my decaf yesterday, and no one replaced my decaf packet. All I have is regular. This is the reality of the world, okay? But let me also remind you of something else. You're also, besides the super nice and the super mean, you're going to encounter truly nice people having a moment, a difficult situation, because human beings, we're emotional creatures by nature. I love to say we're emotional creatures living in a physical world. And everyday things happen to us that make us tired, that make us cranky. There's lots of things that people go through. So we have, again, talked about this, and bringing out the best in others brings out the best in ourselves. If you understand that some people arrive at the hotel, at your vacation rental company, if you're with a managed vacation rental management company, they arrive, they're tired, they're hungry, they drove a long way, they've been on a long flight, and there's always something. Last night, thankfully, my plane landed in Miami about 6:45 p.m. Eastern time, because at that time, I just read this morning, a SpaceX rocket that they were testing, a new kind of rocket, launched, and it blew up, and it created debris fields throughout the Caribbean and the South Florida area. And all the flights got delayed. They had to go in a holding pattern for an hour to all that debris either burned up or fell to shore. These things happen. Now, I was coming home, but if you're going on vacation and you're going to be late, now you're going to be tired, you're going to be hungry. If you're driving in a car with a car load of annoying children, or taking the bus after you land in a beautiful destination and you're taking an airport shuttle bus, people, normal people that are tired, hungry, and cranky. So remember, every guest encounter is a random occurrence, okay? So anytime you encounter the next guest is like spinning that roulette wheel. Okay? Whether you're ready to answer your next phone call, whether you're ready to greet the next guest at the front desk, whether you're ready to knock on the next door to deliver that room service tray, whether you have a new guest walking up to the bar and you're about to hand them a cocktail. Let's see, what else can I think of here? Whether you're passing a guest in the hallway, whether you're receiving a chat or an email, it's like spinning that wheel. Okay? And it's not going to always stop on a nice face, ladies and gentlemen. I made this little roulette wheel of emojis to represent it, okay? And the black mark is where it stops for your spin, okay? But here's the good news. You get to spin again. Always remember that. So if you encounter 10 guests a day, you know, whatever you think the numbers are, let's say 20 guests a day. I think it's about 5% super nice and about 5% super mean. So you're bound to get one of each, all right? Let's take a look now and let us spin the wheel. Oh, stopped on an angry person. Uh-oh, you pick up the phone or you walk out to the counter. I have traveled up. First of all, they like throw their credit card down. Checking in, Kennedy, or throw their key on the counter. The key, it won't work. I've been on hold 15 minutes. What's going on? Well, be a lightning rod. But the good news is you get to spin again. Let's go. Oh, we got a crazy person. Yeah, there are some really crazy people in the world, okay, that ask, they just don't understand, they don't read the email, or sometimes you just get people that just have really different personalities, okay? And I say that in a facetious, fun way. I'm not actually picking on people who have true mental issues, but they just seem a little bit crazy. Sometimes they're goofy, sometimes they're funny, sometimes they actually think something, you know, maybe they're worried about something that they shouldn't necessarily be worried about. So not literally crazy, but just a little different in their personalities. Now we get to spin again. Ah, we have an angel. So you have the spectrum of personalities on the roulette wheel of guest personalities. But I'm going to ask you a question now. Which of these do you remember most at the end of your shift when you go home and whoever you live with says, "So, honey, how was your day?" "Oh my gosh." Do you say, "Oh my gosh," we say? I don't think many of us say, "Oh, I talked to the nicest person today. They were an angel." Okay. Instead, we say, "Oh my God, I talked to a really mean person." All right. So guests are more likely to reach out with problems and quandaries as the future unfolds. So if you master the skill of being to stand up tall, be that lightning rod, go and ground it, you will have a long career in customer service, okay? Because I want you to think about where this is going. Think back, those of you who've been in the hotel business or the tourism travel, or I'll just say the lodging business in general, when you started. Okay, now maybe you started like last week and you can't relate to this, but those of us who've been doing this, let's say 10 years or more, 20 years or more, 30 years or more, it was actually 40 years ago at age 20 when I started my first job in a hotel, okay? And even 10 years ago, but let me take you back to the origin. People called for a brochure. People called to make a reservation. People called to make sure we mailed them the check or that the credit card went through, because we had a little book that you had to check the bad credit card numbers. People called for directions. People called to find out what the taxi fare was. I always did that because I did not want to be, especially in a city like New York. You know, I learned early on, cab driver would be like, "Oh, first time in the city?" Never say yes, because they would take you on a long way. You'd pay $100 cab fare to get somewhere that should have cost $50. So people would call and ask for the approximate cab fare and travel time. They would come to check in. Many people now use, about approximately 20% of people use some form of automated check-ins, sometimes, not all the time. They book online, they get their confirmation. You know, there's more and more automation. A lot of you have chat, so if they need more towels or they have need more decaf coffee, they're going to chat that over to us. So now, do you think technology has evolved and it's done and there's no more disruption and no more change? Think again, because the more it involves, okay, the more likely the person that still contacts a human is going to be having a major problem. As the easy needs are handled by AI, most of the remaining guests that reach out to us humans are going to be difficult faces. So imagine every year one of the smiley ones gets X'd out and is replaced by another crossed one. You can see on this model, we got like what, 1, 2, 3 happy people, and the rest are going to be cursing at you. They're going to be cross. They're going to be just crazy. You can't understand them. So as technology evolves, you deal with the remaining human interaction, your odds are going to be a lot more that you get people in a difficult situation. Okay, so think about that. Now, I want you to always think about these concepts. Again, easy for a trainer to say, hard to remember in the heat of battle. Guest frustrations are with these situations, not with you personally, okay? So strive to always understand the experiences they're living out on the other side of the counter, the other side of the bar, the other side of the phone combo, the chat exchange, the other side of the guest room door, and the other side of the front desk. Do we cover everyone? The other side of the email exchange. The more we think about what they're going through, the more we can understand. So I'll share an example. I know I have shared a few times. We have so many people that are on here, almost every webcast, Sun, Village in the Outer Banks. We have, I don't want to leave anybody out. Rosewood, thank you. You've been with us almost every webcast. You know, we have to, I've shared this story before, we have to really understand what it's like on the other side of the front desk. When I started at age 20, I was working at a 4-star Marriott hotel. We did not have AAA back then. We had I'm sorry, we did not have Forbes back then. We had AAA and mobile. Forbes bought mobile. And we had 4 stars and 4 diamonds from 4 stars from mobile. And it was a beautiful hotel. It still is. Lexington Marriott Griffin Gate. I actually got to go back and train there 2 years ago, which was a super exciting homecoming. But it was a beautiful, fancy resort. And my job was to be, my third job, doorman. And I would see the guests coming in their vehicles, coming out the airport shuttle van, and I would wonder, they should be so excited to come here to my Marriott because it's a beautiful hotel. We had a lovely Pegasus restaurant. We had a casual garden terrace. I remember all these things, right? We have a lovely bar, but they weren't always happy. And I thought, what is the matter with these people? I would love to stay here. I thought it was the biggest thrill to come to work every day because when I traveled as a kid, we stayed at a campground because we traveled in a station wagon pulling a camper. If we did stay with the hotel, it was going to be an economy hotel. So then over the years, I started experiencing life on the other side of the front desk. And with experience comes wisdom. So I want to impart that on you because to be a lightning rod, if we can see through the person standing us in front of us, imagine you have those glasses that allows you to see through people's situations and understand their expectations, their situation. We can see through to their emotional drama. And we can imagine, remember, they're really nice, really mean, but the lady in the middle, that's like most people. They're tired, they're hungry, they're frustrated. There's something going on in their world. We have no idea. So instead of casting judgment, say, what a Rudy, what a meanie, what a terrible human being, let us try to imagine what's actually happening. So let me give you some examples here. Business travels. Now, I have spent for 36 years, I travel 6 days of training a month on average. Some months, like right now, I'm doing 11 days of training in 6 different cities and countries. Well, 4 different countries and 6 different cities in the month of January. Usually it's an average of about 6. So there's about 70 a year. Now I sat down one day and calculated the average number of nights that I'm away. It's usually about 2. So that's 140. Okay. Because I got to travel out the day before the training to wake up and train. And I usually cannot get home the same night. If I do get home, it's usually 1 o'clock in the morning. So it's effectively 2 nights gone. Normally, like Grenada this week, I come back the day after the training. That is 1/3 of over 1/3. I think it's around 40% of my life for 36 years. I have been gone. Okay. So it's somewhere around 13 years. I have been the business traveler. Now, fortunately for me, I was always able to block out my kids' birthdays and the graduations and, you know, my anniversary with my wife and her milestone birthday, although she's been very gracious. We celebrate a lot of birthdays and anniversaries on a few days early. But a lot of people can't do that. So if you have business travelers at your hotel, and we probably all do, even if you're a resort, think about what it's like for them. We may think, I would love to go on a business trip. For my job, you get to have your room paid for, all your expenses covered. Some of you might be thinking, this is awesome. I get away from my kids a little bit. All right, that's not a bad thing. You know, we've all done that. Mom, dads, we need a little bit of break sometimes. But on the other hand, if you're traveling on business, first of all, you have pressure to get results, to justify those expense reports, stressful tasks to complete during the business trip. You're not always just there for those fun meetings and conferences where you see all the people drinking and having a good time. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure on folks to either close down an office, to settle a lawsuit, to terminate a key employee, or to go meet with the sales team to find out why you're not hitting your numbers. Long days spent in meetings, and at night working email. I remember the good old days of business travel in the 1990s. I would finish up my day. I would call into my office. I would put in the 4-digit code and listen to my voicemails and return a few calls and leave them some voicemails. Then briefly, it was faxing. The hotels would put the faxes under your door, and I would write a fax back and sign things and give it back to the desk. Now it's an endless stream of email coming at you every night. Typically, I finish my workday at 5 o'clock. I go for a brief run, and then I sit down and I work email for at least 1 or 2 hours, like a lot of guests. So it's lonely. You're missing your family. You're missing your loved ones, okay? My children are raised. They're 25 and 27. They've moved away, but I miss my cat. I miss my dog. I hope my cat and my dog miss me. I have a 20-year-old hermit crab. His name is Krabby. I know he misses me terribly. I miss him every time when I come home at 2 in the morning. Krabby is always there. Okay, and yes, I do miss my wife, and I hope she misses me too, but she does have the dog. Think about your leisure guests. Understand that family vacations are expected to be life's most treasured moments, you know, mostly in the United States and really around the world now, especially when you're starting out. Mom and dad, or sometimes mom and mom, or dad and dad. Sometimes it's a single parent family. In any of those cases, you got to be working. So in a traditional 2-parent family, mom and mom both have to work. Dad and dad both have to work. Mom and dad both have to work. Single parent family, it's even harder. So you have even less time together. A lot of people in the United States, especially when you first have a kid, you have to have 2 jobs to make ends meet. So what happens is we finally make that vacation plan to rent that cabin. For those of you who are in the cabin rental business, rent that beach house, stay at that lovely resort, go to Fantasyland Hotel attached to the Edmonton Mall. Hello, Fantasyland, we know you're there every week. And get one of your family suites with a theme suite, and your kids are gonna have a great time for the long weekend, right? But what happens is you expect to make up for all that together time during your vacation, and then dreams hit reality. The flight is late, there's traffic, there's an ice storm, the kids are hungry from the back seat. Are we there yet? I gotta go to the bathroom. So the other things that people stay with you, we don't think about these as often, but people stay with the hotels for hospital stays, for funerals and memorial services, because they're recently separated, especially if you're an all suites hotel. Military send-off if you're near a military base or a naval base or a military base, or natural disasters. We have horrible situations right now in the Los Angeles area with the fires. This past summer, we had horrible situations all over the Southeast United States. A lot of people right now are staying at hotels because they're displaced for all of these reasons, okay? So and they may not come in the best mood. I'll never forget a story a young lady told me when I was teaching a front desk class. She had a female guest that came in. The woman was terribly, I guess, cranky, almost borderline abusive to this front desk person. And she said she sat there thinking, what a horrible human this must be, how terrible. She later found out, I think they had a conflict over her showing her ID, and she couldn't understand, the guest couldn't understand why she needed to show the ID. The front desk person shared with me that she later discovered the woman was hesitant to share her ID because she was a victim of domestic abuse and violence, actually, not just abuse, but she was hiding from her husband for safety. Once they discovered that, they shared a hug. Okay, so there's a lot going on in people's worlds that you don't know. Before we judge others, let's understand there's things that are human reaction. Okay, so we receive that negative vibe, we ground it, and it's gone. Then they calm down and we may later make a connection. All right, so how to be a lightning rod. You ground the negativity and you flip the vibe. How do we flip the vibe? We want you to understand the sincere empathy diffuses those guest encounters. So accept the negativity and show some empathy. And if you don't show empathy, a lack of empathy, and a scripted apology ignites the guest anger and makes it worse. Okay, so I'm going to remind you then, when a guest is upset, always show empathy. It helps diffuse those tense guest encounters, all right? When you're dealing with an upset guest, you're dealing with 2 things, the actual thing and their emotional reaction to that thing. Okay? So remember, before you treat the thing, treat the human. Okay? What we need more than anything is a sense of validation. Dogs don't need it, cats don't need it, hermit crabs don't need it, but we humans, we need it. You know, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food, clothing, shelter, safety. Okay, I think they missed a key one. We need validation. Someone that gets us. Okay, so before you start fixing the problem, deal with their emotional duress. And you may be sitting back and thinking, dude, this is actually a really small thing in the big scheme of life. Your key, it's not working, right? But remember, they're tired, they're hungry, they have a 2-year-old child that has to go potty, or they're on a business call, they got all the way to their room, they're running late for their Zoom meeting, and the key wouldn't open the door. So we never really know, okay? Or maybe they're on vacation and they left the kids in the kids club and they wanted a little private time and the key wouldn't work. Or maybe they're a sports fan and they're going to make the fourth quarter of their football game or the national championship on Monday night and they're a Notre Dame fan and they get to the door. They've been watching on their phone the score, right? And the key doesn't work. It's not just about the key, it's about all these other things. So if you've been with me in other webcasts, you know we love to cover the EARS model. I'm going to give you a couple reminders today. The EARS model is what we use to be all ears. This is covered in our on-site training. This is covered in our webcam training that Kathy Cook and our team do, our Heart of Hospitality certification. If you're interested in that, it's actually a worldwide certification. 8,500 people have been certified, including 4 front desk staff in Grenada this week, that we teach you how part of that, just one small part of it, is being all ears to welcome guest complaints. So I'm going to share those key concepts now. Before you apologize and before you resolve it, express empathy. When you give empathy, they receive validation. It's like stamping their, validating their parking ticket. You're valid. You are validated as a customer at my restaurant. You get to drive out the parking gate for free, okay? And that's what we're doing. We're giving them a pass. We're giving them a pass, just like a parking pass, okay? We're validating their emotion. When you show empathy, they receive validation, all right? Then we apologize. So if you apologize first, it's gonna be like, oh, I apologize, yeah, sorry. But when you say, I understand how you feel, I can imagine feeling the same way too, and I apologize, we show we can relate and our intentions were good. All right. So let's take you through the drill here. Mr. Kennedy, I understand how you feel. I can imagine feeling the same way too. If I was a Notre Dame fan and the key wouldn't open my door and your team had the ball on the final possession, yeah. And I apologize for what you went through. It certainly was not our intention, okay, to forget to extend your key when you extended your stay. Does that sound familiar? You know, those new RFI keys are really reliable, but when the guest extends their stay, most systems I know, you have to come back and literally extend the key. So if you do that correctly, you're going to hear a lot of times they're going to say this, well, I know it's not your fault, Douglas, and you're actually being very nice. And you had just diffused them. Imagine a stick of dynamite with the fuse going, and you cut that burning fuse off. Now the dynamite won't explode, okay? Now, I'm gonna talk about compassion versus empathy. Now I'm gonna kind of contradict what I just said. As I said, when you show empathy, they receive validation, okay? But at some point, some of us actually are so empathetic that we actually feel the pain of their experiences. So for those of you who have high EQ, okay, I feel like my IQ intelligence quotient is maybe not that high because I'm really not that smart, but I do feel I have a high EQ and I feel people's pain. When I look in the eyes of others going through emotional duress, I literally feel it. So in this case, to be a lightning rod, you know, if there is someone that's there for a funeral and not just an elderly, not that it's ever easy to lose, but it's really sad, you know, when I lost my 85-year-old father. But there's people that have way worse situations, too terrible for me to even talk about. You know, it's one thing to lose the generation above us. You feel their pain. And be careful on that, because empathy involves feeling those same emotions, okay? But compassion is really what we want to do when you encounter people with tragedies, okay? And suffering from domestic violence, attending the funeral, but not for a parent, okay? An unexpected death, or getting divorced and living in your hotel and it wasn't their choice. Compassion involves recognizing someone's distress, wanting to help alleviate it, okay? Showing kindness, support, putting others' needs first, but not actually feeling it, okay? So if you're a lightning rod, you want to let it pass through you. You don't want to actually take their tragedy home, especially if you are near, you're a hotel, near a hospital, near a funeral home. We have a client in New York City. They're actually attached to the Presbyterian Hospital and 3 other hospitals on the Upper East Side of New York. Almost every guest staying there, and they're not just getting, you know, a gallbladder removed. They're there for experimental cancer treatment, major surgeries that are new and unproven techniques in the medical world. And a lot of people check in and they don't make it back, or their family checks in and there's bad news. Almost every day, and I admire them. I get to train them every year. In the summer, we do a program for them. Compassion in those situations, not empathy. Now, let's talk about bullies for our last few minutes together. We have the very nice people, and we have the not very nice people, okay? And I mentioned to you, I believe it's about 5% of the extreme personalities. And I've asked you to focus on the 90% in the middle that are tired, that are hungry, that we can actually move their vibe towards a positive, right? So we got those 5% of not very nice people. Now, some people are just not very nice. Maybe 4 out of 5 not very nice people are just not very nice, okay? Some people in this world are just not very nice. I bet you have someone in your family you're thinking of right now, aren't you? And you're also maybe thinking about a particular guest that stays with you every year. If you're a business hotel, a corporate city center hotel, you got the same man or woman. They're coming back every Tuesday night, the second week of the month. On the Tuesday night, they come and stay and they complain the whole time. If you're a leisure hotel, you have that guest that books the same room or the same home, the same cabin, the same week. They complain the whole time. Last thing they do is stop by and say, hello, I'm checking out, and I got a little list of all the things that went wrong. Oh, and by the way, I'd like to rebook. They're just not very nice. But then you have the 1 out of the 5 of the not very nice people. They are actually the bully. I have yet to find a better picture than this guy, okay? And they, if we let them, they get to our hearts. And all too often we cave. They say, if you don't do this, I'm going to do a bad review. Guess what, folks? They're probably going to do the bad review anyway. Sometimes you frontline people that are on your frontline jobs, your front desk, your reservations, your guest service, you say no, 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 and the boss comes and caves. And that hurts our morale. But I want you to remember, sometimes it's a good decision. I remember being a front desk manager at a Mayfair house in Miami, and our general manager said, you know, his theory was, if they complain long enough to go from the front desk manager to the front office manager to the resident manager, they made it to him, it was just not even worth it. They would just cave because he didn't want them to go and say bad things to others. I do think it's a little different now with social media and bad reviews, and people will threaten to do a bad review. But the thing is this, if you read all this data on this, including TripAdvisor survey 2019, they will tell you that people, when they see those negative reviews, most of us, we can spot the person that was just their own cause of their own problem, or clearly they were complaining to get a refund. So be careful before you give it away. Chances are they're going to do a bad review anyway. Don't cave. First, try the techniques that we covered. Start with empathize and apologize, and you may have to go through empathize and apologize. I understand how you feel. I apologize. I can imagine feeling the same way too, and I apologize. And you just go round and round, and most people will calm down, but the bully won't. The bully won't calm down because that's just the way they are, and they love to pick at us. They're not usually the extreme ones that we kick out of the hotel. We will talk about them in a minute. They're the ones that like to just pick at us. Okay. So keep on playing the game, empathize, apologize. Okay. And then, oh, well, we're going to do a bad review and everyone's going to know, well, I understand how you feel and I can imagine, your frustration is certainly within your rights. But again, this is where we're at, and just go round and round. Now, at some point, you might try this technique. What is it I can do for you now? Okay. Now, if they say, I want the entire stay comped because there was a hair in the bathtub, okay, say no. But now, if they had no hot water for 24 hours, their air conditioning was out in the summer, or they had no heat in the winter for 24 hours, okay, or a flood, in my mind, that's a legit, refund. It was uninhabitable. But focus on what you do have, what you can be done. This is not a class on compensation, but generally something that's instantaneous, $25 Uber Eats card, something that they can use right then, maybe comp them, something to enjoy. But for a lot of people, there's nothing you can do now, okay? And this helps them realize like they've reached the dead end, okay? And a lot of people will give up the bullies at that point. But sometimes the bullies go across that red line and they start to use profanity, they start to use insults, they start to use remarks, demeaning remarks, racism, sexism, personal threats. Okay, personal threats is actually immediately cross the line, but let's say insulting language, okay? Get me someone with a brain that can help me. Mr. Name, I'm doing my best to assist you, but I must insist on professional language and mutual respect. Otherwise, I will end this conversation now. Okay, and they drop the second F-bomb on you, we're done. Okay, now, maybe you bring in the manager, maybe they will calm down. Maybe you are the manager and you've reached the point. Or if they cause you any physical threats, it is time to call for backup. Okay, if you have security or you have actually the 911. Okay. So last point I want to share with you, break the habit of ruminating on guest encounters. And this is how you truly be a lightning rod. Have compassion, but let it go. Now, when you get the bullies, you do not want to ruminate. Ruminate means to go over in the mind repeatedly again and again and again. Does anyone relate to this photo? You go to sleep. And first of all, you come home, hey, honey, how was your day? Oh my gosh, I had the most terrible day. And you tell them, you already told everybody at work, but now you come home and tell your significant other, and you don't even drink. You're like, honey, I need a cocktail, make it a double. You slosh down a couple of vodkas or bourbons or 3 wines maybe. And then alcohol buzz knocks you out cold, 10, 11 o'clock. But about 2 hours later, after the alcohol buzz wakes up, you are awake, staring at the ceiling of your bedroom, okay? And you're thinking about the face of that guest. When you ruminate on past events, what happens is this: you interpret current situations in your lives more negatively, and you become hopeless about the future. And you create a self-fulfilling prophecy. You get what's called confirmation bias. We talk about things like this in our training classes. You go to work the next day with confirmation bias, and you find things that confirm your new belief that all guests are mean, rude, and difficult. Okay, so it's okay to vent, but after venting, use your power of release. Pick your go-to person, someone other than the person who has to live with you, but be sure to reciprocate. And after your power of release, move on, okay? So, Monday is the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday, a big day in the United States of America and also around the world. This man impacted people's lives. I'm going to paraphrase the late Dr. King with this quote here: Always remember to break that chain of negativity, because no one can make you angry. No one can make you upset, and no one can insult you unless you give them the power to do so. So own your power. All right. So in summary, 4 slides. Remember, what does a lightning rod do? It receives that strike, and similarly, we can receive that strike and negativity. We can walk away unscathed and unaffected because we grounded it, okay? Understand that encountering difficult best is an inevitable part of our job. And remember, the guests are frustrations are with the situations and not with you, okay? Understanding their situation allows you to have those special meta glasses that you can see right through, to understand that they're tired, they're hungry, they're afraid, they're lonely, there's something going on, they're in pain, they have a migraine, they have stomach issues, we don't know, okay? And so when you start to think about that, it's inevitable. Spin the wheel. It lands on the person that we think is a crazy person, but really they're actually distracted because they got more going on than we could ever imagine. Showing sincere empathy diffuses these guest encounters, and a lack of empathy sets them off like that stick of dynamite. I understand how you feel. I can imagine feeling the same way. Click, you broke the wick that's ignited, and now the dynamite will now go off. Finally, stand up to bullies. Remember to draw the line in the sand. If they cross that line, call for backup. And finally, remember to visualize your power of release. No one can make you angry. All of your friends on social media will likely be posting some great quotes from Dr. King. Click on a few and listen to them. If you don't have friends posting, go on YouTube. You'll actually see this pages. So how to be a lightning rod and truly ground negativity. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to TravelNet Solution. Thank you to Travel Outlook for being our loyal sponsors. Please join us in February. We're going to do Reservation Sales Quest Part 2. We did Part 1 in January. I hope you come back. We're going to talk about upselling, overcoming objections, and closing the sale. This is good for room reservations, vacation rental reservations, front desk people. Also, our salespeople can join us for that, even though it does apply to selling to the transient market. When you come back for March, join us for a new topic based on one of my articles, understanding what personalized hospitality is and what it isn't, okay? So come and join us. All of our webcasts are located on our YouTube channel. Thank you, Julia Kennedy, for doing that work and making them all available. I want to also mention they're also on our Spotify channel. They're available on Spotify. We have about 6 out there now. Julia is loading some every week. Check out our YouTube shorts. Let us know what you think of those. Those are 60-second or less. And Kate's monthly training tip, which are about 5 minutes. Those are fun. She's in a different costume every month to give you a reminder about basic like smiles, using guest names, being present with your guests, okay? So we hope you keep us in mind for on-site training, conference presenting, mystery shopping, and all the other services we provide. If you see any interest in these things, please reach out to me directly. Well, looking at our total counts here, once again, we have almost exactly, actually we picked up a little bit here, but almost everybody who joined me live stayed with me. I'm very grateful to have you attending these. I truly hope it brings value. If you do watch us on a recording or a video later, I hope you enjoy it as well. So thank you for joining our January webcast. We hope to see you throughout 2025 and as we progress on, as long as we'll keep doing these. Thank you again and have a great weekend if you're listening live.